with some of the other revelations that are coming out of the Michael Cohen news and a strong hint of more developments to come. Cohen's lawyer arguing in a new filing that his client actually shouldn't get any prison time at all. That's despite a series of crimes that he's confessed to and these new lies about the Trump Tower Moscow project. Now, the reason could be very relevant to what more we're going to learn about this investigation of Trump World, because the filing shows that Cohen's cooperation did not just begin and end with Mueller, which alone would be a big deal. He also has been talking to other investigators about potentially other criminal activity. He reveals that in addition to meeting with Mueller's team a full 7 times, he also met with and even provided documents to the New York State Department of Taxation and Finance and the New York State Attorney General's office about their investigation of the Trump Foundation. And then this tantalizing detail we wanted to bring you. The filing says Cohen consulted with Donald Trump's legal counsel while preparing for what has now been confessed to be criminally false testimony about this Moscow project. Now, counsel is, of course, a term of art. It can only be a certain number of people, but it doesn't say the person's name or whether that person asked Michael Cohen to lie on behalf of the president. And that brings us to another big question in play tonight. How much did Trump know about Cohen's lies to cover this Moscow project? And did that give the Kremlin any leverage over Trump?
The fact that he was lying to the American people about doing business in Russia and that the Kremlin knew he was lying gave the Kremlin a hold over him. And one question we have now is, does the Kremlin still have holds over him because of other lies that they know about? It may be that it's because the Kremlin has leverage over the president, which is a terrible thing if true.
Terrible if true. Donald Trump tweeting this frustrated response. He wants his ex-lawyer to go to jail. I want to bring in criminal defense attorney Brian Weiss, who joins our panel of experts on More Than One Story tonight. Brian, what is the process that Michael Cohen's lawyers are doing here through this side of their case for leniency, and how much do you think it matters?
I think it matters tremendously, Ari. Look, like any other defendant who has pled guilty to serious federal crimes, his lawyers have a mandate to paint him in the light most favorable to the prosecution team so that he doesn't do a day in prison, which I think is highly unlikely. But I really think what matters in this case is how we've seen the president react, because this president, like a mob don, sees the world through the very narrow prism of 2 kinds of people: stand-up guys who respect the code of omerta and rats. And I think on one level, this president despises his former consigliere, his hitman, because he didn't take his first pinch like a man. On the other hand, this president, and for very good reason, absolutely fears Michael Cohen, because Michael Cohen is really the triple crown of cooperators. The U.S. Attorney's Office in the Southern District, the special counsel in the New York State Attorney General's office, as you so aptly pointed out. And he knows, the president knows, that Michael Cohen is the one guy who not only touches the president, but touches La Familia as well.
Yeah, I mean, Bill Kristol, a lot of these things are serious, but to put a light touch on it, if you imagine Michael Cohen's Google Calendar, it's just popping and bells ringing all the time. It can't keep straight all the different legal meetings he's doing, which suggests either that he stoked a lot of interest in what he had to say, or the other reason would be a lot of different investigators figured out that Donald Trump has criminal liability of some kind, and the Cohen was a guy who was knowledgeable and willing to talk. How do you put that in the context of Donald Trump, as Brian says, acting so blatantly lawlessly in his reaction today, literally praising people who are resisting investigators like Roger Stone while criticizing Cohen?
Yeah, I think it's fear, more than anything else. I mean, he knows what Cohen knows. Cohen could know all kinds of things, ranging from financial stuff, obviously, to possible Russian collusion, to possible obstruction of justice. Trump kept talking to Cohen through much of 2017, I guess maybe even into 2018, as I recall. Anyway, we'll know much more about this as we learn things from Robert Mueller and others. But the degree to which Trump fears what Cohen and the attempt to therefore denigrate, not just to denigrate and sort of attack Cohen, I mean, it does show, I think, the fear of Cohen, and then that incredibly explicit urging of Stone basically not to cooperate with a lawful federal investigation. Think about that for a minute. It's the President of the United States. He's in charge of the overall executive branch. The Department of Justice is part of him. I don't really remember this. I mean, Nixon did this privately, quietly, we learned from the tapes, in the Oval Office. Even then, he was a little cautious in how he framed it, because he didn't want to, he knew you couldn't really do this. But, maybe it wouldn't be such a bad idea if they didn't find out everything right here. There are national security reasons. They shouldn't know about this burglary, whatever. Publicly, to tell someone don't cooperate, not in effect, just tell them don't cooperate with a federal investigation. Think about that for a minute. What does that mean? How do you say that? How can someone who himself is confident of his innocence, or confident that the truth should come out, or wishes the truth to come out, say that? So he doesn't want the truth to come out. Why doesn't he want the truth to come out? Well, maybe he cares about some other people who might get implicated, but I think mostly he cares about himself, and he thinks the truth will not be good for him. And I think what we've seen over the last week is the truth is a lot closer to coming out.
Right, and that goes to the mood coming out of the White House. Eleanor, listen to Peskov from Russia putting up a new kind of argument about all this.
You obviously realize that this was coming from the office of a candidate for the American presidency.
Listen, every week dozens and dozens of foreign businessmen are approaching us, mentioning possible investments, searching for contacts.
But this is different. This is from the lawyer.
For us, it's not different.
Eleanor?
This was a full Trump family affair. They wanted this project. They pushed for it. They had the highest contacts in Moscow. And now they've got Michael Cohen basically squealing. And the president is tweeting, if we uncovered these tweets in a secret cable, we'd say we have a smoking gun.
Right.
He's doing it all in the open on the theory that if you do it in the open and you're not hiding, it can't be witness tampering or obstruction of justice. Now, he is building Mueller's case brick by brick. He's building that wall around himself, and I think Mueller's got the goods, and Cohen is the gift that keeps on giving.
Well, Clarence, I think Eleanor raises an important piece of this, which is I guess Donald Trump is lucky that in Twitter's terms of use, they don't have a strict ban on tweets that appear to simply obstruct justice, which is a felony.
Well, Twitter is a dangerous instrument in the hands of somebody who is naturally self-destructive. And President Trump has indicated that he's pretty self-destructive when it comes to his own reputation, when it comes to covering his own tracks, if you will, and protecting not just himself but his family. And I think that's what really seems to have gotten him agitated in recent days, as members of his family have come under closer scrutiny with deals like this proposed Russia tower. That's the sort of activity that is naturally suspicious, and he is so accustomed to trying his guilt or innocence before the public, that jury of the public, if you will, particularly his base, that I think he's lost track of the kind of legal liabilities that he's building against himself.
Well, the discussion tonight with three of you plus Brian, who joined later, is a real compare and contrast of two different presidencies. I think that's fair to say. My thanks to Clarence, Eleanor, Bill, and Brian for being part of this coverage. Hey, I'm Ari Melber from MSNBC. You can see more of our videos right here, or better yet, subscribe to our YouTube channel below. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, and we appreciate that.